Hello, everybody. Good morning. So how many people do we have already on here? Okay, let me know, guys. Are you there? Can you guys speak?
We can hear you. Yes.
You can hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, we can hear you, see you, and we
Are we ready to begin, everybody? Okay, I can't really see anything about the controls about what's going on over here. I clicked on the thing. We have 97 participants so far. Good morning, India. Good morning, Hong Kong. Good morning, the Far East. And I'm happy to begin the Surfing Waves of Change webinar. We've got quite a bit to accomplish today, so I will move along, sometimes a little bit rapidly. Feel free to use your Q&As to put in questions and answers. I don't know if I'll be able to hit everybody's questions, but I will certainly try to. Sound check and everything. Are we okay here, Joshua and team? Are we all right?
Yes,
okay. But
sure.
I want to say thank you to Avital and to Joshua and to Avichai for setting this up and doing all the good work to make this happen. And a number of people have worked to help me put this together. Okay, so let's see where we are. First of all, a few words about the Rappaport Group of companies. And look, we believe in values, and we're in a world that's changing rapidly. And so if you really want to understand what's going on, you really have to have values so you have your space to interact with the world. And our values are ethical, transparent, competitive, efficient markets. When you take transparency and competition and you put them together, you get things like RapNet, where people see prices, they can go, and there's a competitive environment. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about Rappaport, but I want you to understand that our values, everything we do, if it's the price list, if it's RapNet, if it's auctions, if it's grading diamonds, all of them work within this framework of our values. We were established in 1978. We're global. We have 150 employees, 9 offices, 6 countries, and we have over 20,000 clients that we serve on a regular basis. In 121 countries, and we're in the added value service business. We don't buy diamonds ourselves or trade them. I mean, we trade them for clients, but we don't take a position in the diamond industry. We're involved in prices and magazine, diamonds.net, which we're redoing now, RapNet, Diamond Trading Network, which is a very important and successful. It is arguably the largest but the best diamond trading network as well, auction and trading services, quality control, grading, and certification. So anybody that wants to deal with us, contact us, send us an email, no problem, and we can talk to you about our services. But that is not the purpose of today's presentation. One thing we should recognize is that we are in this COVID-19 space. And there's over 2 million people that have died and over 100 million people that have gotten the disease. And, you know, this, of course, changes everything about how we think about ourselves, how we think about the world, and we shouldn't ignore it. We should be careful. I'm going to ask us to take a moment now to really think about it. So before we talk about diamonds and jewelry and business and money, think about the world around us, around you, around your family, and just take a minute now to be thankful that we're alive. And I'm going to share a minute of silence with everybody so we can stop and think for a minute about all the people that have passed away and just say a silent prayer for those that are ill. So I'm just going to take a minute here. I'll actually stand up and I'll ask everybody to do the same. Thank you for your time and attention. This presentation isn't about COVID as much as about the changes in the world, but we need to understand the impact of COVID and what it means. And just to understand COVID for a drop, there's a physical aspect. We're worried about our physical health. There's economic aspects. There's social aspects, how we as a society or as a people interact with each other. And then there's some pretty heavy political things going on as well. It's important to realize all these things are interrelated. Social affects economics, political affects economics, physical, relates to social. So we're not going to get into this too much. Just understand we are in a complex scenario as COVID has affected us and our markets and the way we do business and the way we think. All right, let me just make sure I can. Okay, so what's the agenda today? First of all, we need to recognize that we are coming out of a period of unprecedented uncertainty. We didn't know who the president of the United States was going to be. We didn't know when the vaccines were going to show up. We didn't know a million and one things about what was going to happen to us, and we still don't know a lot. But there's certain things that we are starting to find out. There's certain ways of change, trends, things we know. These are things that are going to happen. So we know there's going to be vaccines out there, maybe 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. We know that there's going to be a tremendous amount of economic stimulus in the United States, for example. We know, and I'm going to talk to you about what are these trends that we know, what do we know, and how will those things affect us? So these waves of change are going to impact us. And so we need to identify what do we know. What we don't know, we don't know. But what do we know? And what is going to happen? And what should we do about it? And that's the purpose of this webinar today. I hope it will be helpful to everybody. Let's talk a little bit about waves. First of all, a wave is not a one-time event. A wave comes, another wave comes, another wave comes. Waves are slightly different. Now, the ability to have a work in a wavy environment, you could say, I'm standing here, I'm not gonna move. Generally, the diamond industry has been a ping pong ball in the ocean. Waves come and we sort of ride them, but we go up and we go down and it hurts your stomach. But we need to learn how to surf the waves of change. But in order to surf the waves of change, we have to recognize there's two aspects to waves. One aspect of a wave is that it's external. Can't control it. Don't know what's happening. And it's just coming at us. Now, if we're going to surf the wave, if we're going to ride the wave, if we're going to make money because of the wave, we have to think about what do we control? How can we ride the wave? So when you're looking at this presentation today, you may want to differentiate between external forces that you can't control. Nothing I can do about it. My factory has to close. I have COVID problem there. Nothing you can do. Or the factory is open. Things are happening. How do I find new customers? How do I create new product? How do I keep employees happy? What do I do? What do I do? Now, to understand this better, I bring you a surfer. Now look at this guy. See? Whoa! Look at that fuzz. He comes out. Now, if you look at his face as he's going into this thing, he's pretty proud of himself. His hands are out and great. And then he gets, and now his face at the end is quite different. So we have to understand that as we ride these waves, first of all, we have to know what we're doing with our feet. How are we playing with ourselves? How are we controlling ourselves? We have to expect the unexpected, and then we have to emerge victorious. So as you think about this presentation today, think about what we're seeing here in terms of riding the waves, doing this stuff. This is real work. We just can't sit there and do business as normal, and we have to expect that stuff at the end that could actually, I thought this guy wasn't going to make it, actually. I thought he was going to fall down over there, and I think so did he. Look at his face now. Okay, very determined. So what are our waves? What are the big things? I try to, everybody talks about, oh, this is happening with the diamond industry. That's happening with the diamond industry. But let's take it to a higher level. The first wave is money, the politicalization of money. The fact that governments, particularly the United States government, when they look at the world around them, they say, throw money at it. I don't care how much money. I don't care how much debt. I don't care what's going. Just throw money. Throw money. And so money has become funny, or cash, what do they say? Cash is trash to some degree. It's just throw it out, throw it overboard. And I think that there's a good point there because people want to be careful. They want to, the politicians, not just politicians, but everybody. So Money has become a political football that is much higher than it used to be. This polarization. Now, you cannot imagine the polarization that we're seeing today in terms of society. Half of Americans voted for Trump and half of the Americans voted for Biden. President Trump, President Biden. So like people are separating out, and I'm gonna look. We're gonna have three great speakers today as well, and I'm gonna after the speakers, I'm gonna say some controversial stuff. So hang out to the end if you want to really hear some of the issues about more controversial. But polarization is a characteristic of what we are going to going through the next year for sure, and it doesn't just mean people who say, "Look, we're black people, we're Arab people, where we've been put down, and now we want to have, our chance to get ahead. And we are entitled to historical benefits or other benefits." Versus people who say meritocracy. I don't care if you're black, white, green, or orange. If you're doing a good job, you get ahead. There's the whole women's issue. So, I'm not taking any positions in any of this. I'm simply saying, be aware that we are now in a much more polarized environment. And if you think internal polarization is a big thing, think about deglobalization. The fact that China and the United States and now Russia, the world is kind of pulling apart. The forces of separation are dominant. There's this big thing about we power, which means that people are getting together. It's the millennial thing. It's like everybody is, instead of a me generation, it's a we generation. A lot of that is because of the digitalization, and the whole idea of digitalization is a we power thing. Social media, and you'll see me talk about how the stock market has even reacted to that. Environmentalism, and it's easy to understand the next generation of environmentalism. What am I, older guy, so 60s, and what do I care that much about environmentalism? It's not going to affect me tomorrow. But if you're 18 or 25, you might be thinking, it's environmentalism. I better really get it together, which means you have to hang together, which means you have to make decisions that may not be short-term, and there may be short-term costs for long-term future. So the short-term, long-term issue is very much a generational demographic issue, and it is dominant. It is really, really coming up right now. Okay. And then finally, if you're going to be part of a group, what about your personal identity versus your social identity? Who are you? What are you? And we will delve into this probably at the end of the end part of this. So let's talk about money. I said, see, right here, I said money is a big one, right? Let's talk about money. Well, there's discussions in Congress even last night, but probably the 1.9 trillion dollar. And we're not talking billions anymore. We're talking trillions. That's 12 zeros. That's a huge amount of money. So we just had a 900 million, and now we're going to get a 1.9 trillion. So the whole thing will be about 2.8 trillion. 331 million Americans. That's about $8,358 for every American. And that money is coming in. And where's it going? Now, if it went to consumption, that means people would buy things from other people, then it would stimulate the economy and everything would be good. And if there's no tariffs with China, and everybody gets this money, and they spend money buying Chinese stuff at Walmart or something, then China gets the money, and we stimulate the Chinese economy, not ours, not American, ours. I'm talking to the world today. So like this is a tricky, thing where, you think for a minute, well, if we don't have any tariffs on China and we stimulate our economy, we're not going to really help our economy. We're only going to help the Chinese economy. So the coronavirus drives the need, because people don't have jobs, to get the money, and then we need to get the money circulating within the United States, which means we need tariffs with China. Just to give an example how things interact. But most of the money, interestingly, is going into savings. People aren't really spending. They're afraid. I'm afraid. You're afraid. Everyone's afraid. What's going to happen tomorrow? I mean, okay, they've stopped buying toilet paper, but, what do you do with your money now? And so people are, in fact, saving it. And where do you save it? You got zero interest rates. I mean, there are actually banks that say you got to pay me to keep your money. And you got all that stuff going on with money laundering and a million things. So stock market investments is a really strong thing. Because what are you going to do with your money? Now, that's interesting. There is a group of people who are non-banked some of the poorest people in America. And when we talked to the pawn shops, they came out and said, hey, we got to hurry up here. People are buying because they buy hard assets that they can go back to the pawn shop and they can get loans on it. So they go to the pawn shop, they buy things, and they bring it back and they get a loan, high interest rates. If they get a loan, then they buy again. So people actually did buy hard assets among the poorest people. But you can ask yourself a question, all this money, are we going to see an inflationary cycle? Beyond the scope of this call, but likely at some stage. Are we going to see investment in diamonds? And if not, why not? Because who's going to trust the diamond industry until we really get our act together? But I'm not going to be pushing investment in diamonds right now, but we are working towards it. So there's a lot of money out there, everybody. Wake up to that fact that there's a lot of money. Now, I said the money goes in the stock market. Boom, here's the stock market. Okay, we are 43 plus 13. I don't know, they're actually higher, but you're definitely up over 50, 60% since the coronavirus appeared. So you think, oh, stock markets are going to go down, and you're right. In the event that you have an increase in unemployment, the stock market goes down, no question. But when unemployment comes down, so we're talking, well, we're still at 10 million unemployed versus 5 million, a little over, double unemployment. But still, the decline, we were all the way up to, 22,000 unemployed. That was amazingly difficult in March. So what you see, okay, the unemployment coming down, which is great. We're at about 10 million. These are millions here. So but the stock market keeps going up. Now, part of the reason the stock market goes up because there's no money. What are you going to do with the money? And the government keeps giving you money. Next case. This was an interesting thing that I just thought I would throw in here to show you. And I was surprised by this, frankly. But this is the RapNet 1 carat diamond index, and it's not something that we publish the price list for. This is what people are doing independent of the price list. These are 1 carat D to H, IF to VS2 diamonds, and look at these guys. They are tracking the S&P. So the S&P 500 is a pretty good thing for you to be looking at as you experience 2021 and you wonder what's happening or where we're going. And there are a lot of people predicting the S&P 500. A lot of people think it's a bubble. But I don't think the S&P is going to crash so fast if the government throws out $1.9 trillion over the next few months. Now, this issue of money, good. But now, we're talking about this idea of, what do we call it? Deglobalization. I mean, so what's really happening in the world? I'm not going to show you yet, the differences in GDP, but basically, the U.S. is still the leader. But look at that population, 335 million people, which is a per capita of $63,000 per person, basically, per year. You want to sell rich people, that's not a bad way to think about the diamond business sometimes, wealthier class people. That's where the market is. Now, China is coming on. And you'll see, and when we look at the import data, China is coming on stronger than you expect, but there's a lot of people in China, a lot of people, it's like 1 point, that's like 6 times, 4 times, for every American, there's maybe 4 Chinese. And their GDP, though, is nowhere for all the people it is, but the GDP per capita is 10,839. So you find them buying 30 pointers, right? Now, India is way behind in GDP and in the earnings per person. Broadly speaking, India is definitely shooting itself in its foot by putting in high tariffs on diamonds. So they just once again left it at about 8.25 effective import taxes for polished diamonds, which means India cannot become a trading center for diamonds, which means as De Beers pushes Botswana and other African countries to produce diamonds, India loses out. Indian manufacturers in places like Botswana don't bring their diamonds to India anymore because it's too expensive. So India's trading centers. India really is going to have to get its act together in a big way to catch up. Okay, look, they're 1/10. Okay, not 1/10, 800, 1/9 of the United States, and they're 1/7 or something, or 1/6 of China. So there's a big issue over here. But these are big populations, young populations in India, which gives it a benefit. Anyways, the story over here is who's going to buy our diamonds. So if you look at the imports in the United States, now you got to be careful here because this data is not perfect. It's based on estimates. We didn't have the 12th month for the United States, and we don't have the last quarter for Hong Kong. Hong Kong number might be a lot lower. I had a whole discussion with our economist last night about this. But in any case, in fact, Hong Kong could be as low as 170 in terms of their net imports, net polished diamond imports. But if you're looking at this, the U.S. is down 50%. Okay. And that's a big number. I know hopefully it's coming back up, and we'll show you that Hong Kong is totally killed, not just the riots, this, that. And then China is still down 26%. And, there is good help in China. And right now we're February 12th. I think the next week we're going to be looking at the Chinese New Year, and we are hopeful. But a lot of smaller goods, and I'll kind of show you how that works out as well. But overall, we're down about 47% in our major markets in 2020. At the end of the world, and you'll see prices has held up very nicely, but there's less goods, there's less business. And so here's the China's thing. You got to be careful with China. I'm a big believer in China. I want China to succeed. I'm concerned about the trade war with the United States, but China is going through a changing period, and they're doing very well now. And if there's no more big waves, I do expect China to have a very strong engagement with the market, very strong market. Okay. So let's bear it in mind. Let's be cool about it, but let us know that China is so important. I mean, come on, look over here. Okay, so you got 4519, and with Hong Kong, you got almost a 54, much stronger than the United States in 2020. So maybe they're $1 billion ahead. More. They're like 1.4 billion. If you, and again, the Hong Kong number, I'm speculating. I don't know if this is true so much. Okay. And there's a lot of stuff people are exporting to Hong Kong because they don't want to bring the goods into India because they're manufacturing them in Africa. And there's a lot of turbulence right now. And then they ship the goods out of India to Hong Kong, and they don't want to ship from India to China direct. There's a lot of strangeness in these numbers, but bottom line, they're ahead of the United States when it comes to buying diamonds. So we have to realize that, and we have to be helpful and thankful and appreciative of the Chinese. At the same time, we got to be careful. And the truth is that globalization is going poof. Everybody's pulling in another direction. You're going to see that now recently with what's happening in Russia. You see it with China. You see it with China and the United States. You see it with China and India. Okay. So there's a lot of this uncertainty about that, and you can expect more of it. But I know what's going to happen. China and America are not going to get along in 2021. I'm pretty sure about that. And I hope President Biden will bring things together, but that means it may make it difficult to export diamonds from India directly to China, for example. It can happen. And you could get a hot situation there quickly. So you should be prepared for it. You should be aware of it. Moving goods to Hong Kong might be a very good solution, assuming Hong Kong opens up with the COVID situation. Now, this Nick, we got a little bit of hassle for last week putting out our monthly press release and talking about the fact that diamond prices may be coming under pressure. And these are 1 carat prices on a weekly or monthly basis, but we look at it weekly, of course. And we're looking at this stuff coming down here. And these are 30 pointers. This is the Chinese better quality 30 pointers. This is the Chinese engagement. And we were not really expecting to see this kind of a fall. Okay. So we should be careful. The party might be a little bit over, but let's see what happens with the New Year's. I am hopeful that, in fact, we'll see more demand coming in there and more movement in prices and more stuff. But be aware we are oversupplying the markets. Okay. And I'll come to that in a minute. But be careful with China. Be supporting of China, do business with China. I like China. China is a very important part of the future of demand, but be careful because you might see some uncertainty coming out there. And the smuggling thing is totally disgusting. You got to stop. Everybody who's in the diamond business, you got to stop screwing around. Okay, so don't be selling people that are smuggling. You have a obligation to work with the legitimate channels. Plus, it's really not fair to people who are legitimate. Pay. So I'm going to go compete against some guy you got to stop, clean up, no smuggling. Okay. And the government cracks down, and things can get very bad very fast with China. If we take a look at the United States overall, man, we have come down. We have come down, and we were up here at $10 billion a year. And we're only looking at diamonds over the half carat because there's not that much under the half carat, and the U.S. data on diamonds under the half carat is an absolute lie. There's so much smuggling or moving of goods that the United States has been exporting $2 to $4 billion a year more polished diamonds under the half carat than it has been importing for like 10, 20 years. So the data is wrong, statistics are wrong. I've got to talk to the government about it now that President Biden is in. I'm going to raise the issue. But I can't look at the under half carat. Makes no sense. But we know for over the half carat, we can see a severe decline in imports into the United States of America, and this is concerning. I'm very happy to see the natural diamond council do their thing, but this is, you don't advertise, you don't promote. This is what you're going to get, and this is not a good thing. Okay, some of it's 2020, but you started over here in 2018, pretty much. So this, we have to figure out how to reverse this. You can see here also, again, it's a 52% decline. This is 2 years, 2019 as well. But I think that it's going to start building up again. So I don't want to be pessimistic. I believe the United States is going to come back very strong, because when you get an extra $1.9 trillion, time to party. So I'm pretty sure that the United States is going to get better. And that I would hope to see 5 billion, maybe even 6 billion in 2021. I expect this to bounce back pretty strongly here. And again, this just shows you the differences in the years here. Okay, as you can see, we've come up here, November, and I think December is going to show us bigger numbers too. You had an amazing May in 2019 and a horrible May in 2020. And May is an important time of the year when people, but don't worry about this, everybody. I think the future will be good. This also just shows you something about how diamonds are moving in what months, but I wouldn't spend time on it. Now, this is an interesting graph, because what you're looking at here is U.S. imports and India exports. And this is over 2020. And you can see that relationship over here. So India is exporting a lot of goods to the United States. The bottom line is, this may be China over here, this difference, and a little bit of whatever, the Arab region or whatever. But this is a very strong indication that India is exporting. If this gets too big, then we're going to see too much goods in the pipeline. Then we're going to see a lot of problems. So we need to be careful not to over push the goods into the pipelines. And if we, here, see what happened in May? Okay, we got closer together. Okay, and again, India exports to other countries as well. But we have to be careful about this. I would watch this pretty seriously. So net polished exports, according to the Indian government, is 35% down. And according to the U.S. imports, is 63% down. I'm just kind of showing you that for over the half carats. But in India, okay, so they sent out 35% less diamonds. It's not the end of the world. Rough for polished differences persist. You would have expected, well, rough prices did come down, and then they went back up. So you got to be a little careful here. And this is not a good situation. I'm going to talk about synthetics later. It's very interesting, the ability, the need to buy rough diamonds has been diminished by the fact that synthetic diamonds are around. So if you get a factory with thousands of workers, you don't have to buy natural rough diamonds to keep the workers busy. You could buy synthetic diamonds. And so that's taken the pressure of Surat. So we're going to think about that a little bit later. I'll talk about it as we go on. But it's an interesting thing that most people may not be thinking about, of the impact of synthetic diamonds. I got a problem with synthetic diamonds, which is another story. But this is very unhealthy, and this has to get diminished, and we have to be able to make money selling our polished. I mean, I would expect rough to have to still come down, but I think Avi Kravitz will talk a little bit about that. You can see what happened with the sites, 2020 against 2019. This was, whoa. Look at this difference over here, okay? So there was quite a period of time where we did not absorb diamonds. Mining companies just kept their diamonds. And then now they're starting to come back. So there's starting to be some improvement in the rough sales, but be careful, everybody. Be careful. If the coronavirus, other variants have come out, I was talking to Sherry this morning about the JCK show, and she's like, well, I don't know if anyone's going to go to the JCK show on August 18th, and maybe we should add that in when we do our talk in America. This is the Far East talk, but we don't know. And there's a question about this idea of shows, and there's a question about this idea of United States polished demand. And, you should be careful if you're a diamond manufacturer. You should be careful not to overdo it. Keep your inventories tight. Now, there's easy credit and there's easy money and everybody competes, but be careful. This takes me to Avi Kravitz, who is going to talk a little bit about the markets. And I am very pleased to be able to get to this point. Exactly half an hour, it looks like. So take it away, Avi, and the team that's doing your stuff, please do your stuff so we can have Avi share his screen and speak his mind. Thank you.
Hi, Martin. Thank you. Thanks so much. I do want to share my screen before I start. So if I share my screen, it'll stop Martin's screen from sharing. So I'm going to do that.
That's fine. Okay.
Okay. Can you see my?
Yeah, we can see the screen. We can see you. We can hear you. Shoot, yeah.
Great. It's so great to be here, and thanks everyone for joining us. The industry is at a bit of a crossroads at the moment when you consider the fundamental changes that have taken place in the last year that are going to influence how we operate in the future, moving forward, not only in 2021 but beyond that. And some of these changes were as a result of COVID-19, the pandemic, but others were also brewing in the background even before the pandemic. And so what I want to spend some time this morning today to do is to assess those changes from a pipeline point of view. We want to consider the mining, manufacturing, wholesale, and retail sectors. How is each one relating to the other in light of the changes that are taking place? And so I want to discuss 4 factors that I see are influencing the pipeline at the moment. The first is the drive toward greater efficiency. There's a shift in inventory and a question of who's holding the inventory in the industry. There's the emphasis on beneficiation, as Martin alluded to earlier. And then there's also the customization of supply that is influencing and affecting how we operate as an industry and in our businesses. So I'm going to spend a little time, and I'll try and go as quickly as possible on each of those factors. So the first being that drive towards greater efficiency. It brings up a number of questions. First is how much rough do we need to satisfy end consumer demand? Another question is how quickly and seamlessly can we move the diamond along that distribution chain? And this may be a bit of a controversial question, but in this new world, where does rising consumer demand necessarily translate to a need for more diamonds? The age of excess retail inventory has passed. Before 2008, the financial crisis, retailers were happy to buy bulk inventory and keep it in their store. But they learned their lesson in 2008, and I think to some extent as well last year, that inventory or dead inventory is a risk for retailers. And so jewelers want to reduce that risk by owning less inventory. And they can do so in a number of ways. That we see over the last decade that jewelers are taking more goods on memo. So that enables them to have inventory but not necessarily own it. They're demanding a quicker turnaround from their suppliers, so that if they have an order, they can call up their supplier and say, I need a 1 carat HVS2 diamond, and I need it within 3 days, and can you get it to me? And the supplier needs to respond to that. And then probably most significantly is this tremendous drive towards e-commerce that we've experienced in the last year, and the trend has been brewing for the last decade, has allowed jewelers to display more product without owning it. If you think about the internet, it's really this massive centralized display case, and it enables retailers to tap into suppliers' inventory anywhere at any time, and that's a very powerful force within that is taking shape at the moment. And so where does that leave the midstream? Where does that leave manufacturers and dealers? On the one hand, polished suppliers need inventory to effectively service their clients, you know. But on the other hand, too much inventory, too much polished in the market has a negative impact on the wider market, as we saw in the 3 years or the number of years before the pandemic. That was the crisis. It was an oversupply of goods that was putting pressure on the market. And so manufacturers and dealers, the midstream, are responding with by creating their own efficiencies and improving their own efficiencies, and technology and data analysis is a tool that is being used to gain greater insight into rough purchases, understanding their customers' needs and buying the rough that is required to service those needs. Technology is driving a reduction in turnaround times in manufacturing. It's technology such as AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning is driving efficiencies in the grading space, and hopefully will result in better consistency in the grading space as well. And that all helps the manufacturer turn around goods at a much faster pace and a more efficient pace as well. And so, but that inventory tension remains, and Martin alluded to that earlier as well. That if we look at the at rough production over the last decade, we saw that that inventory risk really shifted to the manufacturing sector. That as production came down in 2008, it reached a kind of a stable lower level until 2017, when there was this sort of spike in supply, and that all shifted to the manufacturers and resulted in that oversupply crisis of 2017 to 2019. And surprisingly, that didn't continue in 2020. Last year, during the pandemic, was an opportunity to rebalance the inventory story, really. And we saw that when we look at mining company inventory, that how much are miners producing versus how much are they selling in terms of the carats that are coming out of the ground. And we saw from 2016 really that if it's a negative number, it means that manufacturers are taking all the inventory. And that came to a halt in 2019 when there was too much supply in the market, and manufacturers stopped buying, and the mining companies built up some inventory. And we thought that that was going to continue in 2020. We thought that mining companies were producing goods and that they wouldn't be able to sell, but they did very well in last year. They produced according to what they sold, and that was largely as a result of a very strong fourth quarter in the rough market. That De Beers and Alrosa sold high volumes of goods in the fourth quarter, particularly Alrosa, I think. And we saw the spike in rough sales, a spike really that we haven't seen since the first quarter of 2017, and that was the beginning of that oversupply crisis, really. Of course, we didn't have the lows that we had last year before 2017, but it was kind of similar. But I would say that if we have another strong quarter, as we did in the fourth quarter, then we really are heading towards an oversupply situation, and it makes the market quite vulnerable. And De Beers, we know that in January, De Beers had a very high sight. They sold $650 million worth of rough, which was their highest in 3 years. So there is sort of that is something that we're looking at, and who owns the inventory and who is bearing that inventory risk. The third factor that we are keeping an eye on is that we know that De Beers is negotiating a new a new marketing deal with the Botswana government. And among the trends that are going to that will come out of that and already taking shape today is that De Beers is shifting more rough to be polished in Botswana and Namibia, and it's interesting because Botswana-based manufacturers had some advantage in 2020 when there was a lockdown in India, and manufacturers couldn't get rough to those factories because they were closed, and the shipments were difficult. Botswana-based manufacturers had some advantage, and so there is still this appeal of being closer to where the rough is, and the rough is in Botswana, in terms of De Beers supply, and that does change the industry dynamic. It changes the route that the diamond takes to its end market, be it in the United States or China. That instead of sending the rough to Antwerp or Dubai before it goes to India for manufacturing, if it's being manufactured in Africa, the resulting polish then gets sent straight to the consumer market, and particularly if, as Martin said, if the import duties in India are so high. And so Gaborone is not only emerging as a rough trading hub, but as more polished is manufactured there, it's also emerging as an important polish distribution center, and that's something to keep an eye on. And the final thing about the final factor that I'm looking at is the customization of supply. In the rough market, there have been initiatives amongst the mining companies, and I would single out Lucara Diamond Corporation with its Clara platform that is enabling buyers to source rough based on their polished demand. So if they know they plug in their polished specifications to the system, and Clara would match that polished with the appropriate rough, and so that becomes a more efficient way of selling rough. The increased digitization of rough tenders is also playing into this trend. It's helping companies customize their purchases with more information that is available to them online about the rough that they're bidding on. And then finally, De Beers has announced a change in mindset, really, where they are categorizing their site holders into 3 categories: manufacturers, dealers, retailers, and providing a more bespoke supply of rough to each category according to their specific needs. And that again, it again means that manufacturers are, or the idea is to encourage each sector to do what they're best at, and there are all sorts of implications to that perhaps it cuts out the dealer market, for example. And the dealers, we know, provide a very valuable service to the industry. And so it'll be an interesting dynamic to see how that plays out. Also within the customized banner, or the customization banner, is this issue of traceability and source verification. And if you take COVID out of the situation last year, arguably this traceability issue was the hot topic, the hot story of 2020, that we had real development in companies adopting and pledging to disclose where their diamonds come from. Tiffany & Co is one example where they have pledged to disclose the mine of origin of all their diamonds above 0.18 carats, so 0.18 carats. So, and with that, there's so many initiatives within the industry, the GIA Origin Report, Sarin's Diamond Journey Report, the Tracer Blockchain Initiative, the various projects that Everledger is working on. And so that drive to know where the diamond comes from is further influencing the pipeline to be more efficient. It's arguably also going to result in some segmentation of the market. I know a lot of smaller dealers are worried that that this is an initiative that's being pushed by larger companies that have the means to provide that that traceability element, and that they're going to be left in the dark. But overall, it increases the transparency of the trade and results in that and ultimately would play into that efficiency playbook. And so again, with as the industry becomes more efficient or tries to be more efficient, the question remains, how much rough do we need to satisfy that end consumer demand? And that's really, I think, the big question that we are going to try and answer in the year ahead and beyond. Thanks very much, Martin.
Thank you very much, Avi. Let's move forward with the survey. Okay, I'm going to ask everybody to answer a survey. We'll like to get this done in about 2 or 3 minutes, so we can keep things moving along. And then we are going to hear from Sonia, who's going to talk about design and fashion and really what do we know about where the market's going to go. So are you guys ready to put up the QA, the survey here? Okay, so let's do it. Everybody, please answer the survey and let's rock and roll, because time is money here and we really want to make sure we can get things done. Okay, so let's see if we will have our friends enter a survey. Okay, so we have 0 out of 165 people answering, which is not very comforting, but we will give it a few minutes over here. We're going to be looking forward to Sonia speaking, which is going to be quite exciting, talking about that. And then, look, the controversial stuff. Is our polling working, by the way? Because I don't see anybody.
It's working out. They started going through it. Just takes a few minutes to read.
All right, fine. Okay. In the meantime, I can talk to everybody as people are going through these things. The controversial stuff that I'm going to talk about is going to come in after we have El Hill talk. And so there's going to be some very interesting discussion there as well about things like, what do you mean about this social differencing, and how are we going to sell in a world where we have AOC? I don't know if anyone knows who AOC is, but she is a very prominent, I guess the phrase you would use over there is progressive, which means socialist, basically. And she says, I am a democratic socialist. So what about socialism in the United States of America? And then you got someone like Ted Cruz, who's a strong advocate of competitive markets. And what about how people feel about jewelry in this kind of an AOC world? And what is happening in terms of the fundamental foundations related to social responsibility, or the socialization, if you want to call it that, of the millennials? What does that mean? And how is that going to affect? Well, one aspect, how it affects money. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of money. There's a lot of entitlement. Okay, you know, I'm a black person, or I'm a woman, or I'm whatever, and now you guys need to make it up to me. There's a lot of that going on as the society's values shift. Okay, and I'm not being judgmental about this. You know, it's a good thing, it's a bad thing. Different people have different views, and I'll tell you a rabbi story later. But fundamentally, we have to be thinking about what is going on in the undercurrent. What is really happening with the mindset of the American consumer, which is different maybe than the Chinese consumer, of course. But America still, because of the tremendous GDP numbers that I showed you, and the wealth and the per capita GDP, speaks louder in the world of diamonds, especially better quality and larger diamonds, and also inexpensive diamonds. So let's see, we got 93 out of 170. That's not bad. We'll just keep going with that, and we'll share these numbers with you later on as well. But I think can we show people a little bit? Well, I want to wait for the polling to get over before we show people. But we have a lot of jewelry manufacturers, a lot of diamond manufacturers on the call, and that's very nice. I see we have 97 of 171 people have responded. That's 56% voting. I think that's better than we get in most elections. And we'll discuss these things later towards the end of the presentation. I don't want to hold us back too much. We're already at 40 minutes, more, 50 minutes in this game. And so I really want to move along. 99 of 172. Okay, I'll call this in another minute or so. And well, we're three minutes into the thing. So that's 100. Okay, so we're getting a little more, but I don't want to spend so much time polling that we don't have a chance to share information. So let's get Sonia ready. And now I understand that once people are polling, we can't do a presentation. Is that we have to end the polling before we continue? Is that right, Joshua?
No, I think you can share the screen.
So people can come in and they can just keep polling as they like?
No, I
And
think we
people
should end the poll. I think people are, I see now, a few more people are viewing it.
Okay, so then you tell me when to end the poll. Definitely by 5 minutes, which gives us less than a minute left, but you should monitor how many people are viewing it. And then I would encourage everybody to please respond and get this over with so we can go. And Sonia, can we please get Sonia's presentation ready so that Sonia can explain another very important part of where these trends are and where these waves are coming from. And really speak.
Polling now, we should end it now.
Okay, so I click on the end polling, you click, I click on end polling. Okay, we're not going to should we share the results right now? Why not? I'll do it very quickly. Okay. Bingo. So we have about 24% retailers, 13% dealers, jewelry manufacturers. You can see the numbers there. And interesting, price for natural diamonds, 50% think they're going to increase, only 9% think they're going to decrease, and 32% the same, and 11% unsure. That's a very interesting number there. Again, we're going to send everybody the results. For lab-grown diamonds, everyone figures 55% is a decrease, which is, if you ask me what's the difference between regular ones and natural diamonds and that ones. Will there be an oversupply of diamonds? So kind of mixed even, but people think there will be, some yes, some no. Social responsibility is not important as we look, only 3%, slightly very important is 47%. And this is India, and this is manufacturers, and this is source suppliers, and very important. So this is an important answer to the question, okay? There's a 1 to 5%. That's what people think people will pay more. And 52% of sales are going to increase. This is optimism, everybody. I applaud that. I think it's correct. We should be optimistic. Online sales, okay, 31% and 35%, very important. So 66%. And prices are important, 37%. This is a pretty much an even thing. And thank you very much, everybody. 83% would say yes, 2% say no, and 16% are unsure. And that sounds great. So are we ready to move on with Sonia? So
Hi, Martin.
Hello. Please give Sonia the screen. Okay. Try to keep it to 10 minutes. Okay. Thank you so much. Let's go.
Right. I will. I'll just, shall I share my screen?
Yes,
please set her up. Let's go.
Let's go. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it happily.
We can hear you. Go ahead, shoot, yeah.
Let's go. Rock and roll.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what's trending in jewelry because we have 10 minutes. I'm going to concentrate on what consumers want and what designers are offering them. And that kind of hopefully will give you an overview of what's happening at the moment in the market. So what do jewelry lovers want? We see today's collectors looking for connection. There's been a very tough year. We had COVID, people were way apart, losing life, losing their loved ones, feeling sorry, feeling sad, and they need to have something to connect to. So they need to have something that means something to them. And also they have a connection to the past because we feel like a bit in a vacuum. So connecting to the past helps them to feel better. And conscience, we talk a lot about it. Martin has talked about it. Avi has talked about it. Traceability, sustainable jewelry. All this is so important. It's not about just looking good. It's about feeling good about your purchase. You're not just spending money for luxury. You're spending luxury with a heart and luxury that cares. And also because, as I said, we had, I think, a tough year. So fun and color is back in jewelry. Playful jewelry, cool jewelry, statement jewelry. Let's have fun with what we wear. So connection. That's the first theme. We saw a lot of jewelry that's related to star signs, letters, charms, something that represents, has a meaning just for you. So you wear it. This collection by Sorolina is about tarot. So tarot cards. So some people are spiritual, some people want something. They're going to have customized cards as well. You can put your star sign, something that you are, that has a personal story to you. Jetro specializes in diamond jewelry. Here she launched a collection last year, lower price point, and star signs, letters, and some religious, spiritual symbols. Something that you can stack, something that you can add, something that you can gift yourself, and something that feel like you're telling your story through your jewelry as a means of self-expression. And as I mentioned earlier, connection to the past. Vintage jewelry, antique jewelry, estate dealers did really well in 2020, and they're going to do even better because people want something that has a story, that has what they consider a more ethical provenance because it's old. They want something that they can use from their heirlooms, for example. You might have inherited a piece of jewelry that actually is not your style, but you want to use the stones. You want to still remember your grandmother or your aunt or someone that belonged to your family. So you will actually upcycle jewelry has been doing very well. A lot of designers are telling us that they're doing more and more bespoke jewelry. People come to them with a very specific idea of what they want, and they want it just tailor-made for them. But they're going to use maybe a stone that belonged to someone from their family, or could be an engagement ring that's being upgraded. And this ring, for example, by Cassandra Nicholson, is using an old cut diamond set in a platinum setting. It's a modern piece, but it has a connection to the past. And then conscience. I think that's maybe the biggest thing for all of us. It's like the luxury used to be about conspicuous. It used to be about showing off. Now it's really about, I want something that's doing good. So Muse Showroom is one example. They worked with dozens of designers to create these charms, and a lot of the money that you spend on this jewelry is actually going to charity. And many jewelers now need to say how they're making their jewelry, whom is making their jewelry, and how, and when and where. You know, you can't just go away with telling it's pretty and it's nice. People want to know that it might come from maybe a BIPOC designer. It comes from ethically sourced gemstones. It also has sustainable credentials. It might also be that you're using recycling packaging, recycling boxes, that everything through the pipeline from the moment you start your design to the moment you deliver the beautiful jewel has something meaningful to it and something that's clean and kosher, if you want to say it this way. And I think that's really where the jewelry market is going today. All designers say they use recycled gold, they use ethically sourced gemstones. It's very difficult to get away with not saying where your jewelry is from and how it's made. And besides the conscientious luxury, and it all fits together, you know, it's not like one trend is excluding the other. There's a lot of fun, colorful jewels that we've seen being released at the end of last year, and this year it seems like it's going to be really big. Melissa Kay is, for example, working with colored enamel and diamonds. She used to do diamond heavy collections, but she introduced pop-up colors. It's fun, it's elegant, and it's still exactly what, you know, we're talking about self-purchasing women here, certainly buying this jewelry for themselves and wanting to make a statement. Emily P. Wheeler also works with colored gemstones. It's something that, you know, you can carry off, you can have fun, you can be playful, and you're actually saying, I love jewelry and I want to go out again. And even if you don't go out, if you're on a Zoom meeting, on a Zoom call, you have a beautiful piece of earrings, this is certainly going to also make you feel good. And then I wanted to, there's one sector that's been certainly doing very well. People got engaged in 2020. They wanted, and it's the same, they wanted the connection to someone. If love has been stronger than the COVID, it means you're good to get together. And engagement rings have been selling. And then the bridal sector certainly is the sector that actually features all these trends. And we see De Beers has launched a collection with Blue Nile, sold exclusively at Blue Nile. It's called 1010 Botswana. I think it's a very interesting collection because what it tells us, De Beers is telling us the story of Botswana diamonds. They're working with 10 female designers from very different backgrounds, very ethnic backgrounds, and different style of design. And they decide to create this capsule collection reasonably priced point, and they all let the personality of the designer shine through the design. And he also tells the story of Botswana, of how you empower the people who actually are creating the, finding the diamond that's going to be used in a jewelry. Colored gemstones, big trend. People are, because they want color and also because they want something different. So it's all, combined with diamonds or not, but people, the Gen Z, the millennials, they tend to gravitate towards a bit more, less classic style. So for example, Mirta de Giersberg, who's a designer in New York, is working a lot with bespoke clients, and she does a lot of colored gemstones as well. Like this piece of jewelry, Sapphire is big. Celebrities are also leading the way in that. Vintage inspired jewelry, always strong. Maggie Simpkins is an interesting case. She's based in LA and she only does bespoke engagement rings. She works with diamonds, with color. She has very interesting pieces and story, and she includes little details of our clients' love story inside the design. So talk about connection, about meaning, and about true love for jewelry as well. And as I said, antique rings are being very popular. We speak to a lot of estate dealers and they tell us Art Deco, Victorian, Edwardian rings are being in demand because, as I said, people want something a bit different. They want something that has more story than just taking it from the shelf, and has been doing very well, actually, the engagement ring business for estate dealers last year, as we've been told. And it seems like the trend is only going to increase this year. And so I'm going to wrap it in saying just a few things about how to present your jewelry. Tell your consumers and your future collectors where your jewelry is from, how it's made. Show them behind the scene. People are shopping online. 92% of shoppers are likely to have used a digital device before going in store. So these shoppers are shopping jewelry. They're checking their Instagram. They're following designers. They want to know, who are you? Where do you source your stones from? How do you work in your workshop? And I think that's, this is from Arak Mehta, an Indian designer, 4th generation diamantaire, and it has a lot of behind the scenes. How is the jewelry made? If you use craftsmen, show them. If you use artisans, show them. Tell us, because people are going to ask questions and they're going to ask tough questions, and that reflects in the jewelry trend. They want something that is really about accountability, and it translates in jewelry trends. And it doesn't mean that jewelry can't be fun, can't be lighthearted, and can't be also a real pleasure and a real treat. So thank you so much for having me on this webinar, Martin. If people have comments, they can contact me. And also we have an Instagram account on which we try to feature many, many more trends than what I've just tried to pack in 10 minutes. It's Jewelry Connoisseur by Rappaport. And if you have any questions, and you'll see many more trends, for example, pearl necklaces are big because Kamala Harris wore them. Men jewelry as well, gender fluid jewelry. So there's many, many other things that we could talk about, but that would be for another opportunity.
Thank you very much, Sonia. As usual, you're great. And I think that first of all, you do have a lot of stuff she's putting out also. And then maybe we're going to do a special webinar sometime just on the design and just on the jewelry. And I think it's important when we think of Rappaport that we're not just thinking about data, about diamonds and stuff like that, but we're reaching out to try to understand and integrate all of the trends and styles and information that's happening on the consumer end. So the spread between a diamond manufacturer who's not even making jewelry, it's certainly a jewelry, and the consumer is starting to come more closer together. Our world is compacting. I'd like to introduce Elle Hill now. Elle is working with us on a bunch of interesting areas, and I think it's great to have Elle here and having this opportunity to speak with us. I don't think she'll have to have a presentation, but we'll try to keep it to 10 minutes, Elle, because we're really going to be running a little bit late. And I'm really happy to have Elle speak about social responsibility. We will get to people's hand raising and stuff towards the end of the presentation. So you'll have to bear with us to the end to hear the answers to questions. But Elle, take it away.
Great. Thank you so much for having me, Martin. I'm really excited to be here. I think this is a topic that needs to be unpacked when we think about the importance of social responsibility. I'm not going to put a presentation on the screen. So Joshua, you can go ahead and just put me on the screen if
you're on the screen. You're on the screen.
That would be great. So as recently as a few years ago, everybody was talking about, social responsibility, responsible sourcing, sustainability, and the message, even as few as just a few years ago, the Harvard Review put out a report where they said 65% of people are saying we want socially responsible product. But only 26% of them were actually voting with their dollars. And so everybody thought, okay, let's wait, let's listen. And there are some, front runners that went out and really started going after understanding how to be socially responsible, how to display that you are socially responsible. But what we have heard from Martin about this being the we generation, it's not just about me. It's not just about the product that I want to buy. It's about how is that the extraction of that product, the bringing of that product to the market, the workers who work to bring that product to market, how is it affecting everybody else? So that we generation shift that was already happening a few years ago that Martin referred to, and that consciousness around what you're buying and why you're buying it, where it came from that Sonia mentioned, that has accelerated over the course of the last year. And it was already starting, as we know, to the point where the Harvard Business Review in 2019 already said, quote, shoppers are voting with their dollars. And what they pointed to was a 5-year period between 2013 and 2018, when 50% of the growth in consumer goods came from products that were marketed as responsible, sustainable products. So the consumers, 50% of the growth there. Now, when we look at specifically the diamond, gemstone, and jewelry industry, the writing is on the wall. We're not tracking where things are coming from because we just felt like it. The consumers are starting to ask the questions. So as we sit in Surat or Mumbai, we might say, what does this have to do with me? Right? Why does this matter? I'm just trading my diamonds to someone else, right? But ultimately, we've got the kind of consumer to contend with. The retail stores where they're buying, the designers where they're buying from are listening to them firsthand, and they're looking in the market for products that can show that they're answering that sustainable, responsible call that the consumer is now placing with them. So this is going to come right up the supply chain to meet you. So at this moment in time, your understanding of where your products are coming from and your ability to show,
Yes, at this
not
moment.
tell, show, not tell, and prove where your products are coming from and how they're coming, and the way you treat the people that work with you is becoming more and more important to your bottom line. This year, there was a huge report. It was fantastic, out of Vogue, saying finally, sustainability, responsibility, responsibly sourced jewelry is at the top of the agenda. And this was just 2 months ago. So we are now seeing that the shoppers are voting with their dollars. They're demanding something that they're demanding to purchase from businesses that align with their own morals, with their own integrity, with their own values. So they do want to, as Sonia said, understand who is behind the product. It's not just about a thing anymore. It's the story, the storyteller, and the product. So you have to be prepared to reveal yourself, your work practices, your trading practices, the origins of products that you've sourced, and all of the people that you source from. So this is just a domino effect that's going to land on your doorstep if it hasn't already. I think the final thing that I want to say is that we also saw in the poll today that everybody said, yeah, I think people would be willing to pay maybe up to 5% more for things like this. There was an interesting statistic that came out of ARM regarding ethically mined gold, and it wasn't about diamonds, but similar poll that they did, and 49% of people said they would be willing to pay between 5 and 15% more. This was just earlier this year. So please, I welcome anyone contacting me directly or Martin directly to get more information about the statistics that I'm quoting. But as I eat, sleep, and breathe this, it is very clear to me that if sustainability, if responsibility is not initiated into your competitive strategy, your future is precarious. And that's my wrap for today.
Thank you very much. I think that this point of understanding your customer's customer, sometimes I worry about India or other places and I say, well, they don't see over the horizon. You need to lift yourself up. You need to see all the waves in the ocean out there. And the waves keep coming. Change keeps coming. And you need to be thinking about, well, I understand I have a customer, but if you don't understand your customer's customer, you don't understand your customer. So you need to see over the horizon of being a diamond manufacturer or a jewelry manufacturer, and you need to understand what is inside the belly of the customer. What is the customer thinking? And when Sonia says people are buying stuff not to show off because it makes them feel, they internally want to feel a certain way, this is very important. And I think we're going to let everybody who came here know we're running an auction in New York on Monday with a lot of estate jewelry. And so what we're doing at Rappaport is we're reaching into those environments to understand customers, make it possible for customers, and we will be doing some amazing stuff with social responsibility in the near future. So hang in there with us and let's see what's going on. And now for some of the more interesting and controversial parts of my presentation. I have about 20 minutes. My guys are trying to get me to finish it all in an hour and a half so people don't get tired of me or of us or Rappaport or whatever have you. And I'm now going to try to see if I can reload or redo or come back to my screen. I imagine I am sharing screens. I'm going to share my screens again. Is that correct? I see we had Ellie. Okay, and now. So let's go back to the beginning. What are those big changes that we look at? Now, we looked at the details of the changes, but what are these big waves? The money wave, lots of money, polarization, world splitting apart. We're not, before we were all, let's all go together, and everything. Now there's all this energy of everyone wanting to do their own thing. Louis power, which is really powerful. And it's not just, as you'll see, a trend, it's a generational shift. Millennials are we people. Now, I remember growing up in the 60s and the protests against the Vietnam War. It was very liberating because people said, hey, this is who I am. This is my identity as well. So goodness is a part of what we need to sell. So these are those big waves of change. Now, how does that work out in the reality? So first of all, there's this dangerous gap. Some might think of the rich and the poor, but even the middle class and maybe the poor, or Main Street and Wall Street. Like I showed you, the stock market shooting up. There's still double the amount of unemployment than there was last year. People are suffering. They're suffering. And then guys in the Wall Street are getting rich. What does that mean? How does that feel? What does that mean for jewelry, of course? But if you got that tension between people, how does that go? I'm gonna, there's a rise of millennial socialism. But let me take 2.5 minutes or so and freak you out. I want to make a statement before I do this ALC video. And I understand, Avital, are you preparing this video and getting it all organized to go with us? Don't start until I tell you. Look, I'm not a believer in socialism. And AOC, who is a new member of Congress, scares the hell out of me in many ways. And I'm more friends with Ted Cruz than AOC. But she's right. She's true. She's honest in many ways. Not dishonest, I may argue, but I'm not so interested in the politics as the trends. AOC is creating a group of people, and not just her. There's a whole group of socialist Democrats that are coming in and saying, we are the people. We want to speak. We want to be heard. We want to control the game. And she is very, very smart and very capable person. So I'm going to show you how, and by the way, it's not just AOC and her group of new democratic socialists that are changing the way Americans, and especially the way millennials, think about the future and what they can do and the empowerment of the we generation. It's generational, but this is very strong stuff coming down the pipeline. But it's also the way that the media relates it. Now, they talk about fake news. It's not really fake news. It's just opinionated news. And so Hollywood has a huge impact on millennials and everybody. And how Hollywood is now relating to AOC, how Hollywood is now relating to what she has to say. So I think this is an important thing to see so that you can understand the when I say underlying, not just the trends, but what's underneath the trends, what's driving the trends towards a more egalitarian, fair world of people we're not putting people down and stuff. And you need to understand this trend because it's going to reflect itself in design of jewelry, why people jewelry, where people dye jewelry, who people dye jewelry from. All this stuff is going to be a tremendously important trend that will be emerging in 2021. Now, what I'd like to do is, Avital, can you put on the video? Joshua, can you put on the video? Do you want me to put on the video?
It's yeah.
Yeah,
You
because
want me to do it?
Yeah, it's sitting on SharePoint.
It's sitting on SharePoint. Okay, what I'm going to do is I took it over last night. Everybody can see my screen, I imagine, right? I'm sharing my screen.
share again. Share
Okay,
again.
let's hope this goes smooth. Let's take a look over here. Let me just get out of this. Let me see if I can. I do not want to leave, but I want to. Let's see if I can jump to a thing. Next time, I want you to get this thing well organized in the world of, let's see, sorry, everybody, this is not good. Okay, let me see if I can find out where I can go to get to this thing. Here we go. All right, we're going to jump into this thing. I'm going to go to my downloads, and here you go. It's called Knock Down the House. This is before the protest that physically knocked down the house. This is the battle for the soul of the millennial in certain ways. And even though it's extreme, and I don't agree with her, and I don't agree with this extremist, she's coming off of here as a hero and influencing the trends of what we're going to see people and how we're going to see people think.
You just need to share your screen
You
again.
guys hear me? No. So let me try.
Yeah, we heard
again.
you. Just share your
One
screen.
moment, please. Sorry for this. That's the first time. Let me just go back to. Hang on a moment here. Sorry for the delays. Let's see where we are. I'm going to reshare my screens. I'm going to share my screen again. Here we go. Now I will jump over to Knock Down the House. This is the trailer. You can see this, by the way, on Netflix. So you can probably just see it online as well.
If I was a rational person, I would have dropped out of this race.
One more time. Stop share. Stop share. Okay. Share screen. Optimize for video clip. Yes. And so you said to me that this thing exists in.
Yeah, you had it
You know
done.
what? Maybe my
We saw it when you just
speaker
now
is not
shared it.
loud enough. Can everyone hear me, by the way?
Can hear you, and we can see we saw the thing. Just
Avital, is there any way that you guys could load this up and I'll continue talking about other things
No,
until
but
you can do it?
just click on it. Everyone can see it. We saw it before.
But can you hear it?
Yes.
can hear everything.
Yeah, we
If
can.
I
Just make it full
was a
screen.
rational person, I would have dropped out of this race a long time ago.
Crowley hasn't had a primary challenger in 14 years.
He's taken $3 million per cycle. He's going to tell me I'm small, that I'm young, that I'm inexperienced. My mom cleaned houses growing up. I never really saw myself going into politics. Americans aren't asking for a lot. They're just asking for politicians to help them get by. I can do this.
I know you can.
Left wings, I was a broken thing. Had a voice, but I could not sing.
We're doing something very controversial. People say, how dare you mount a challenge to someone who's so established?
So
it's not just our family, it's 30,000 families a year losing loved ones because they don't have insurance.
I was not trying to become an activist. I live 6 minutes from Ferguson.
But there's a scream inside that we are tried.
Being a woman of color, our image is scrutinized. People in my district, this is how we look.
I come from a long line of coal miners. We've been collateral damage. They underestimate us.
I'm running because everyday Americans deserve to be represented by everyday Americans.
I'm not going to allow my daughter to have died for nothing.
The problems that we have in our district, we ourselves can fix.
I get scared of the cynicism from people really believing in something and then it not working out. I just don't want to let them down.
You have to be fearless, or they're gonna come after you. Nobody owns you yet.
No matter what the outcome, it will never be the same.
We're gonna fight for each other.
Some of us have got to get through. It's about the whole movement.
For one of us to make it through, 100 of us have to try.
All right, now, let me say, it is important for us to understand this. This is authenticity. This is real stuff. And this is what's really happening. Hopefully I can return to the meeting over here. And I'm sharing the screens, and I'm sharing my screen, I guess. And I don't know.
Just click on your PowerPoint.
Excuse me, I have to go back to the PowerPoint. Is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's, I'm sure the next time we'll have this more smoother. All right. Let me go back to the power. Here's my power. No, here's the PowerPoint. Okay. So here we are. Okay. I have to go all the way down and zoom through the whole thing here. So let's try and understand this. We just saw a very powerful presentation that was put together a movie about AOC. It's not just AOC, my friends. And whether it's good or bad is inconsequential. How you feel about it is inconsequential. What really matters is, do we understand this trend that is emerging in the United States where the people are speaking and coming up? And look, the House of Representatives, you elect people every 2 years. So, it's designed to really be the people of the House, the House of the people. It's not designed to be entrenched like, say, the Senate. And so she's speaking in a very strong way about a major shift, and she is really a good person for her community. So we're seeing the breaking of the social political order. And in Russia, we're seeing people getting arrested because of the new guy. And in China, we're seeing all kinds of things happening. This is not just the United States. This is a wave of change that is affecting the social, political, economic order. And we need to understand, what does this mean for jewelry? So this rise of millennial socialism, if they want to call it that, and I'm going to try to see if my screens here, let me get my screens back to normal, okay? I guess this is the way we do it. No, okay. The rise of the millennial order is interesting. And look, it's not coming from the older generation. All of these guys that are kicked out, even if Elliot Engel was knocked out, this other guy, you're talking about people who are leaders. The fourth most powerful guy in the House was knocked out by AOC. One of the most guys that had like 30, 40 years in there was knocked out by a new guy in Jamal, but by a new guy in the Bronx. So, you're dealing with some stuff. Now, this represents 27% of the United States population between the ages of 20 and 39. 27, 90 million people. The old guys, the Alta Cockers, if you want to call them that, or what, 55 million people. This is the new voice of America. It's the new voice of the world. It's the new trend. Now, not everybody, millennials are so socialists and leftists, but that is going to influence the mainstream without question. And so when we talked about social responsibility being important, that's part of it. But another part of it, do we really understand our customer's customer? Do we? Now, we're investing a lot of money, effort, and time at Rapport to do that. But you should understand, we're in this change, we're in this wave, and how to surf this wave is not going to be easy if we have an old mindset and if we don't respect and understand where AOC is coming from. So there's a bigger question, and you had like the top people thinking, what are companies for? Is it just to make money? Is it to take care of people? And so this attitude that we have in front of us of what are we doing here, and what is the role of business? And you could say, okay, business, making cars. We're in the jewelry business. We're selling emotional products that are designed to make people feel good. And so our companies have to reflect the new 21st century attitude of companies. Watch Tiffany, okay, guys? Watch Tiffany. I don't know, now LVMH may chase them up or change them out, but watch leading companies take an important role and in terms of reflecting not just what they sell, who they are. Who are they? And what is the identity of the buyers? And are they value-wise, interactively matching with their customers? Big, big, big point. Remember that from. Now look at the retailers. Okay, so Signet's going to move that way. Tiffany, now look, the retailers did not get killed in 2020 as much as you'd expect. Okay. Frankly, I'm shocked that they did as well as they did. But there is this bounce back, this frustration, and jewelry, like they say, replacing vacations. So we have to be thankful that we have survived the coronavirus initial impact as well as we had, but we're not going back to the way it was. So we need to understand that all of these companies, and this speaks to what, $21 billion worth of sales. Maybe it's not all diamonds and jewelry, but look, that's $21 billion. So there's probably more. And we talk about how big the market is, and maybe it's 63 billion, or maybe it was 83 billion. I'm not going to go into that right now. I'm just going to say, watch the big companies, see how they relate to their customers, see how they relate to social values, see how the society around us is changing and moving as a new generation takes over. Look at this GemStop. Okay. And I want you to understand also what's going on here. It's really amazing. GemStop was a company that was shorted by the big boys of Wall Street. And I'm going from the 20th of January. This is not a long period of time. This is the last 30 days or much, no less. What am I talking about? Less than 30. And what happened was socially responsible, I wouldn't call them responsible, socially active groups on Reddit said, hey, let's screw the rich guys. Come on, let's get them. They want to share, they want to short, they're playing with these things, and they're these professors and professionals, and they know how to manipulate and use the stock market. Now we got money, right? America's giving me money. I got $900 billion. I'm going to get 1.9 trillion, right? We're going to have money. How do we use that money to screw the rich dude? And so they said, we are going to buy those shares. They said it's shorting, we're going to buy it. And billions of dollars were lost by these short guys. I'm not going to go into how shorting works, but I'm just going to point out that a social group of people said, we're pissed off, we're angry, we're not taking it anymore, and we're going to screw the rich guys. And we're going to screw the manipulators. And, it was funny because both Ted Cruz and AOC agreed that they should not have stopped these people from doing this. So the point I'm trying to say, look at the power. Now, what happens if they say, let's screw diamonds? So the points that are being made by, the Responsible Jewelry Council and stuff, very important, because they're saying, well, diamonds help people. And so what is this thing for, DEF, and very good, all these things are good. But I'm going to warn, I want to stick it to the World Diamond Council and say, what the hell are you doing with goods from Zimbabwe? How can you stand there and say only a small percentage of goods are, problematic, okay? And really everything's fine. It's not fine. People are dying in the Congo. People are dying in Zimbabwe. And you are selling that shit. And you're saying it's good. And you're greenwashing. Now, I don't want to be so not nice, I look at someone, a senior guy who was a really nice guy like Mr. Asher, who I respect a lot. I really do. And he's the head of the World Diamond Council. But he's old. I'm old. Young people are not going to take this shit anymore. So we need to clean up our industry. Now, I've given up. I can no longer fight against it. And not only that, he's doing good things. The World Diamond Council is doing good things. RJC is doing good things. But I don't know what RJC is doing about the responsibility, about people who are buying goods from Zimbabwe. But I can't chase perfection. I think we have to think about creating good ways to do things. So I'm not going to spend the rest of my life fighting evil as much as I'm going to be creating good. And so what we need to do is get a little, AOC will fight the evil, but I want us to know that there is a danger in our industry of greenwashing, of saying things okay, particularly when we are existing in an environment where there is a large percentage of the younger millennial population that is, what can I say? They are looking at this stuff and they're saying, hey, you guys are not kosher in the diamond industry. So we need to do more, but my goal is going to be define the good products. I'm not going to concern myself with people that are not eating kosher. What I'm going to do is find ways for us to use RabNet, ways for us to use our market power to create an environment where people can buy legitimate good diamonds. So instead of fighting the evil, and I got a little excited a few moments ago, but we got to do the good. We got to do the good, guys. So we got to clean up our act and we got to promote the good. As we saw these different things going on, and I'm running out of time over here, but I want to tell you a rabbi story. So there's this rabbi, right? And he's sitting in his study, okay? And there's a knock on the door, and in comes a man, and he starts complaining about his wife. And his wife does this, and his wife does that, and his wife's that, and his wife. And the rabbi is, he looks at the wife, he says, I think that you're 100% right. I understand. Good. She leaves, feels a little better. 5 minutes later, in comes knock on the door, in comes the husband, and the husband starts saying things about the wife. Ooh. The rabbi's beard stands up. Unbelievable. Rabbi listens, very nice. And then he says to the guy, you're 100% right. And then the rabbi leaves, and then the rabbi's wife, who's listening into this whole thing, comes out and she says to him, but how can she be right and he be right? How can they both be right? And then the rabbi looks at his wife and he says, you're 100% right. Now, we are looking at a world of dividing and division. I'm yelling about the World Diamond Council and this and that. They're right. They're making the world a better place, maybe slower than I want, but they're doing a lot of good things. Other people are right. Now, obviously, the people that are killing people in Zimbabwe or the Congo are not right. But my point is that we need to have, in this time of divisiveness, we have to have a tremendous amount of compassion and a tremendous amount of understanding that we are selling jewelry to everybody. We're selling jewelry to people who voted for President Trump. We are selling jewelry to people who voted and for President Biden, and President Biden won, and the new Congress, and forget about the politics. We're selling people diamonds and jewelry to people who are not rich. They're getting engaged. They want to love each other. So we need to transcend all this divisiveness. We should be aware that it's there. We shouldn't take sides, but we should be eyes wide open to understand what's happening as the younger generation of millennials takes over the world, and as we takes over the world from me. And so we need to flow, we need to glow, we need to grow with that trend. So extremist views will influence society. So AOC will influence, and she should influence. And I think to many points, she's very legitimate what she's doing. Okay, and I agree with her, but it doesn't matter what I think. Recognize those that impact a society, especially if you do not agree with them. And this can be in India, this could be anywhere else. You gotta accept what is happening with those waves. You don't pick the waves come at you. And if you stand there like a Yutz and Putz, the wave is gonna kill you. So either get out of the water or deal with the waves in some fashion. But the most important thing is to have your own values. Be true to your values. Think about who you really are. Think about who your customers. Think about your customers' customers. Think about that. And then understand that everybody has a perspective and that everybody has a position. And you think, where does jewelry fit into that perspective and that position? I wanted to talk briefly, I know a little bit over time, but that's so it. Let's talk about digitalization and where you're going to go with your company, how you can ride the waves. Digitalization is a fact, whether it's making better pictures of jewelry to put it online, whether it's using things like HubSpot to analyze your customers, whether it's just having a good social media presence, whether it's using LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram. There's a million ways, but let's understand this. On the right side over here, you're looking at a situation where you have higher levels of understanding and expertise in jewelry. And here you're looking at if you know what you're doing with technology. Now, if you don't know much about jewelry and you don't know much about technology, you're screwed. I mean, get out of the business. Go now or do something. But you obviously have to know about jewelry. Now, if you know a lot about jewelry, well, that's pretty good, because you got a jewelry store or you got a manufacturing business in India or you're in Hong Kong and you really know your stuff. That's great. But if you don't know technology, you're in this box. You got to move. You got to get out of there. You got to go somewhere. If you just stand around over here, you're going to be in trouble. And then you got these hyperventilating startup young people who they know everything about technology, but they don't know. They don't care if they're selling ping pong balls or diamonds. They don't care if they're selling toilet paper or jewelry. They just want to use technology to stick stuff into their customers. Now, these guys have a good chance because they can add technology. These guys probably going to end up losing money. It's very hard to break into the jewelry industry just using technology. And everyone's trying to do it anyways. And they will make marketing. They will spend money. They will get 40, 50, 60 million dollars to blow away because people are funding or have been funding these startups, so they don't care. They'll fund 100 startups, and if one of them or 5 of them make it, they're going to make billions, and they don't care. So 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, small money today. So they're going to come in there and push, push, push. This is where you got to go, baby. High expertise and high technology. This is where you have to live. You want to know what to do? Go here. Marry your knowledge of technology with your knowledge of jewelry experience. And when I say technology, I'm not really talking about how your factory runs better. That's just making product. I'm talking about how you interface and communicate with customers. Okay? So it's customer, capability, technology experience. How do you interface with digital marketing and all that stuff? And I'll tell you, this is where we're going. This is where we're going at Rappaport. So think about that. I made a bigger slide so you can read it. Okay. I'll say a few words about synthetic diamonds and then I'll start to shut down. Look, there's an interesting aspect of synthetic diamonds that, like I mentioned earlier, alternative production opportunities for diamond manufacturing. You had a diamond factory and you had a whole bunch of workers. You were bound by buying from De Beers or Rosa. You had to. It's like a drug. You had to keep buying those diamonds to keep your factory going. But now a lot of people in Surat, they say, well, I'm just going to make synthetics. And I can get all the synthetics I want. I don't have to go to De Beers and beg them for diamonds. I have to go to Rosa and beg them for diamonds. I don't have to pay the prices that don't make sense to me. I'm a free man, free at last. Pretty cool. I like that. So that's a really positive impact of synthetic diamonds that most people have not even realized. On the other hand, since they're free and you can get all you want, if someone buys a synthetic diamond and they lab grown, they like to call it, they don't like the word synthetic, which is nonsense. What happens to the customer? Is he getting the same thing as if he bought a natural diamond or she bought a natural diamond? Is there a value retention story that's missing here? I'll tell you about a diamond. Right? This is a deep color. This is it. I'm not going to say the clarity is I3 and it looks like a piece of garbage. I'm not going to tell you that. No. I'm going to tell you only part of the story. And then I'm going to sell it as if it's beautiful, the best thing in the world. So am I going to say that retailers that sell synthetic diamonds are liars, cheaters, and dishonest people? Well, if they don't tell the customer that there is a fundamental value consideration that synthetic diamonds don't have, and I'm sorry to say this, they are dishonest. You got to tell the whole truth, not partial truth. Now, if you want to say to me synthetic diamonds are a legitimate product, I'll say fine, as long as you disclose that in fact they are not the same as natural diamonds because they do not hold value. I believe that millions of consumers are going to be so upset about diamonds and say these diamond people's hoodwinked us. I love the GIA. I cannot accept, I have to accept what people do. It's another way. But they shouldn't be creating an environment where people believe that these diamonds retain value because of the degree of definition. Should we do a price list for them? No, the Rappaport price list legitimizes the prices of diamonds. I'm not going to legitimize the price of a product that's going to go like, drop precipitously because the only value, you can just keep making them till there's no tomorrow. So I'm not against as much. I think synthetic diamonds are great. I think cubic zirconia is great. I think moissanite is great. I don't know. What does Swarovski sell? Glass? Okay, fine. It's all good. It's all wonderful. Just don't misrepresent. So my concern is that synthetic diamonds, the way they're being sold now by retailers, could be, if they don't disclose that, it's highly unethical. And it destroys the regular diamond industry into the future. It's a short-term grab of dishonesty that is going to have negative long-term implications for anyone who bought the diamond and assumed, what do you mean? What do you mean I can't sell it for a high value? What do you mean? I was told that it's a regular diamond. It's the same thing. What do you mean it's not worth the same amount? That question 5 years from now will be prevalent, and we need to think about it. So, I don't want to tell people what to do. And if I can accept AOC, I can accept synthetic diamonds as the reality. This is the wave, and this is a wave. People are doing the synthetic diamond dance, but be careful, everybody, and think about your customer's customer. All right. let me just say that we are in the process now of developing a lot of new products. We don't charge money for these webinars, and we spend quite a money doing it. So I'm going to ask you for a favor. I'm going to ask you for your support and advice. I don't know how many people are on this call, 190, whatever, 107, whatever's left on here. And I really want to reach out to you personally, okay, and thank you for attending the webinar. But I want you to help us, and I want you to look at our products. I want you to advise us. I want you to, I'm available, martin@rappaport.com, pretty easy to remember. You have info@rappaport.com, info@rappaport. You can reach out to us in 1,000,001 ways. We will reach out to you as well. Let us know what you think about our products, because I'm sticking my neck out here. We're going to just, not I, we at Rappaport. It's not the I got to think about we, because Rappaport is also a we generational company. So we are sticking our neck out. We're investing millions. Excuse me. We are investing millions of dollars on new technology to advance social responsibility tagging on RapNet and in the industry. We're investing millions of dollars on new products and stuff that'll take us into jewelry, that'll take us further down to the consumer level and help retailers tell consumers. So, you know, we are part of the big we of the jewelry industry, and I'm just asking you guys to give me your advice, give me your views. Send us an email if you like the webinar or not, and we will be reaching out to you again, you know, by email probably, and thanking you for being on the webinar and doing stuff. So that's, this is the end of this presentation. However, I will now take questions, okay? And I'm open to any questions that you have. I know that Joshua and friends say to me, well, don't you know, spend the whole night on questions and stuff, because anybody can leave if you don't want to hear the questions. Anybody can leave at any time. That's what's so great about the internet and the way that we do things.
Yeah,
Joshua, are we okay over here, Joshua?
Yeah, you see the first questions which you see there are emails, questions which came in by email this morning.
Fine. So let's take a look. Swati Gems. Are banks in India financing responsibly? Well, no one's financing responsibly today. And the banks cannot be relied upon to stop you or anybody from doing stupid things. The banks are sitting in a world where people are drowning. People are dying, literally. And they're just government saying, throw money out there, throw money out there. And so I think with Prime Minister Modi's been pretty responsible to the degree that he is, but interest rates are low. Now, you see, in India, they're not really so low. So you got to be very careful. I mean, even I had loans for some of our US companies at 3.5%, and I returned all of them, okay? Didn't need the money. But we need to understand that money is there as like a drug to keep the economy going. So I don't think that he's irresponsible. I think that it's up to you to behave responsibly. And if people give you loans and you're just taking the money to play with it, don't do that. You know, a lot of people will. And, you know, I think one of the biggest problems here is that the government gives money out there and other people have money and they go and they buy rough or they go and they buy diamonds irresponsibly, and you have to compete with them. You have to be careful not to race people off of a cliff. So think about your business irrespective of the fact that you can get money. And don't be tempted to take money that you don't need. And if you find that the people are going crazy, step back, go on vacation, chill out. Because in the end, you know, I showed you that thing with the diamond, with the price of that stock, James stock, it went up, but it went down. So social media and everybody can get excited, but it doesn't last. It's a global industry. A little proactive in cleaning up. Yeah, I think we have to work on the name of the product. And the way that we need to do it is to, I'm going to attack World Diamond Council as much, or I'm going to get unhappy with RJC or so, which I do support. I think everybody should join the RJC. Because they're not perfect or because there's still a problem with Zimbabwean diamonds. I think what we need to do is just to create alternative ways to track diamonds, as you've heard in the speak, okay? I don't know about blood diamonds is almost non-existent, but it's not gonna take a lot of blood diamonds from Zimbabwe or the Congo to get someone like AOC to attack the diamond industry. You know, we're there, you know, and not only that, you know, I always say, don't climb trees if you're not wearing pants. Now, our industry is climbing trees. We're going up there, we're saying, you know, everything is good. And in fact, they're doing so much good in the industry. So on the balance, we are a good industry. So I think we should try to clean it up by identifying the source of diamonds. So what should be done? You'll see us start promoting diamonds that have legitimate sourcing and defining the sources, okay? And so we will do that. Okay. Now this guy Dennis sends an endless amount of stuff coming in here. I think I really have to talk to Dennis to explain his things. Where I did see a brief bunch of his stuff. No, it's not temporary. The COVID shift to digitalization is generational. It's not the COVID, was the straw that broke the camel's back. But the big stuff going on over here is the move to digitalization. It's going to be permanent, and it's going to have that thing go on. 1 second. I don't know who jumped me up over here from this Dennis thing. Okay. So I don't know what share of online, but we heard that some of it might be going to 60% in the tough times. So you got to watch this. You got to see what's going on with that, and it's going to be big. It's going to get bigger. And I don't see. And I think the point that Sonia made that 98% go online first, and then they buy. So if you're ignoring online, you're not even in the game. You're not even. Don't worry about the waves. You're not in the ocean. Okay. Affordable luxury, yes. Now mixing things with that's fine. Everybody should do what they want as long as there's full disclosure. But it's going to get interesting. Labeling rules are important. I think the Federal Trade Commission of the United States, and I'm going to write them a letter when I have a chance. I'm so busy and no time to breathe. But what they're doing, like what they did was, not in the benefit of consumers. They did not require people to disclose that synthetic diamonds do not have the same store of value capabilities. They also did not. They did not require a standard for diamond grading. We have this funny stuff going on now with the SIBJO, and they're going to decide how they're going to grade diamonds and this and that. I'm a big supporter of the GI standards because they developed the terminology. So, got to be careful with that. Lose the status of global policy. I don't think that Russia or even China right now is a big threat. But I think Botswana, and I think that it's not so much a global polishing center. It's also they're giving up the trading opportunity. I spoke against the idea of India's taxes before, and I got kind of thrown out of the Bharat. I'm back into the Bharat Diamond Bourse. I don't want to start up with anybody. I have a lot of respect for the Bharat Diamond Bourse and the leadership of India's diamond industry. But then they did ask to drop the duties, but I think in hindsight, going back from 10 years now, we look back, this will probably be one of the greatest strategic mistakes that the government of India has made. And I believe that they are destroying their ability to be the global trading center for diamonds. I hope the Israelis will wake up to that, other people, but they are, and look at what's going on with Dubai. Dubai is taking it over. So, I think that this is a very sad thing for Surat. It's a sad thing for India. In terms of manufacturing diamonds, I don't know that Botswana's labor costs are going to compete so well on the smaller, inexpensive diamonds. But the bigger, better stuff, the GI stuff, I would imagine Botswana's going to take that over. China, maybe. I don't think so much. Russia, no, I don't think so. Russia's got its own problems. LGD or greener production. LGD diamonds are not, okay. LGD are hot because basically retailers can sell them without disclosing their value problems to consumers, and they can try to make believe like they are natural diamonds. So, it's not a clean stone. No, if you're going to say that the artisanal diggers should starve to death, and that is because these diamonds are greener, that's nonsense. They aren't greener, okay? And they don't have electricity necessary to make them. I think there was a study done here, so it's just weird. I'm not happy with synthetic diamonds because of the misrepresentation about value, but I'm also not happy about the misrepresentation of their ethicalness. See, I would attack anyone who said that these LGD diamonds are more ethical than other diamonds. Now again, are they more ethical than diamonds from Zimbabwe? Absolutely, not a question. And do we allow Zimbabwean diamonds to sneak into our regular diamond supply chain? It looks like we do. So that's a pretty good argument, but in general, no, I don't support the idea that LGDs are more ethical. If they were more ethical, I would support them. And I would, but I do support people should sell them and just do fair disclosure. Do you agree that some pent-up demand for diamond jewelry as people will continue? Yes, I think that, I think what Sonia was talking about, and the way, and that's why Sonia was such a great contribution to this, because the Rappaport Group is transcending the idea of diamonds and even jewelry to the consumer. I think that, yeah, people really want to celebrate and they want to be someone and they want to have identity. One of our top branding people have come to us with the concept of a brand and emphasizes women's self-purchase. And, people want to buy stuff, especially if they have money. And the government of the United States is putting out 1.9 trillion. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. Okay. So there's going to be a lot of money out there. And so you want to be thinking about that. And I think that, yes. Do you have a specialist on the Asian market, usually Western markets? Yes, we do. I myself want to contribute disclosure my experience. So yes, I'd be happy to. And maybe Avi, you can be talking to Patrizia. And also you had the editor-in-chief of the Rappaport, not just the magazine. So I'm definitely into it. Do you know that Moissanite is gaining a lot of it? Yeah, sure. Moissanite's going to gain. Everything's going to gain. Serious. I don't think Moissanite is going to be a great competition for natural diamonds. Whoa, who's jumping around with the screen with me? Leave that screen alone so I can read stuff. I don't think that moissanite is a competition for natural diamonds at all. I think they're different products. I think cubic zirconia is a great product. And that's fine with me. It's a good product, but it doesn't have the value retention and the greatness of regular diamonds. Look, plastic flowers are good too. They live forever, Does plastic flowers stop the sale of natural flowers? I don't think so. So moissanite is great. You want to sell moissanite, great, but just sell it. Don't say it's better or it's worse than real diamonds. Real moissanite, okay. So I don't know about that. I think there's all kinds of competition for all kinds of. No, gold is not off topic. There's a fundamental question is whether we're going to see an inflationary cycle that is going to blow away everything we've seen in the past. Now, I've been predicting inflation for 20 years, and I've been wrong for 20 years. But eventually, like they say that even a clock, a watch, it doesn't work as perfect time twice a day. So eventually, yeah, I think you're going to see an inflationary cycle. I think gold's going to go crazy, and I think the diamonds will go crazy if we can create a legitimate market for them. Do you think the lab-grown is going to gain market share? Yeah, I think lab-grown diamonds are going to gain market share as long as people can keep cheating with them. And I think that eventually it's going to come to roost. It's going to be like that stock price that goes up and down. You might as well ask me about Bitcoin. Yeah, Bitcoin's a different story, though, so I shouldn't confuse that. But lab-grown diamonds, when people find out that they don't hold market share, let me just say this: the thing that's going to kill lab-grown diamonds will be how cheap they are. So when people realize they can buy a 1-carat lab-grown diamond for $100 or a few $100s versus thousands of dollars, women getting an engagement ring, or today guys getting an engagement ring, they're going to say, well, what did you give me here? Yeah, would you want to give your girl plastic flowers? Go ahead. Okay. Is gold a safer investment? Well, one of the issues about investments that we're working on, I can only do so much once, but if you buy a diamond for investment, how much you pay? If you sell it the same day, what's your bid-ask spread? And the bid-ask spread in diamonds is huge, unacceptable. So, but I can get in and out of gold pretty easily. If you take a look at Bitcoin, probably, it's more volatile. So again, I'll walk away from Bitcoin, but gold has gone up. It probably will go up as more and more money shows up, simply because there's more money in it. Like, think about this. Okay, I got a vegetable store, right? And I'm selling apples, and I'm selling apples at $2 an apple, right? And now all of a sudden I have customers coming in, and all these customers are millionaires, and all of them want apples. I'll sell apples for $100 an apple. So the value of something isn't just based on what it is and how good it tastes and how nice it looks. The value of something is based on how much money it's chasing. So gold is going to have an opportunity to go up because there's going to be all that money out there. Now, if there's so much money out there, you got to think about what happens. If people are putting the money in the stock market, which is what they've been doing, and then they're not buying things, so things are going to savings/investment, then not everybody wants to buy more apples. He has enough apples. So then the price of apples will go up because he put his money into Uber or something. So, not Uber, to whatever, spaceships, whatever. So, what's the name? I just forgot the name of the company. Great company. It's, Tesla, right? Tesla. Wow, unbelievable. I invested in Tesla. Not enough, but wow, will it crash? Maybe. But the bottom line is I'll probably make enough money that it doesn't matter if it crashes because I'll take my money out and I'll just smile at the world. The point I'm trying to say is if money's moving into investment, which is so much better for me if I want money than consuming things, then the American economy is going to pick up that well. And that's the problem. People are going to get all that trillions of dollars, and I don't know that it's going to be now. If we are going to understand ALC, And we understand that the role is to create a more equal and friendly and favorable society for the people that have less wealth, then that kind of socialism is actually really good capitalism. Because if AOC gets all that money and she and her group of progressives make sure that that money gets spent, not saved to drive up the price of Tesla, the money actually gets spent buying apples and oranges and clothing and everything, then all you got to do is shut down China's imports. And then you're going to get a very robust U.S. economy. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think President Biden, smart guy, I think he's going to be able to bring the country together. And I think that we are going to see that kind of internal United States consumption. And I think it's a good idea to give money to people who don't have money if you want the economy to grow. Okay. Natural China. I think China is going to continue to buy natural diamonds. Chinese people are smart. Chinese women are especially smart. And they're going to want to maintain value. So I'm very bullish on the Chinese market. I am concerned about smuggling, because the government, man, when that government comes down, that's like with a hammer, man. They don't play around. So we got to start having an ethical market. I think the Chinese government wants to control it, but they realize that diamonds are a way to deal with cash, and to not just cash, but to deal with money. So I think that they're going to support a reasonable market. I think that as China gets wealthier, they're going to buy bigger diamonds and better diamonds. So I think China's a wonderful place to sell diamonds, but you got to be careful. It could get volatile. But I love China's it. I mean, come on. They bought more diamonds in 2020 than the United States. So what are you going to say about China? And that's officially. So I'm up on China. Diamond manufacturers should be, and they should. But if they're stupid and pay too much for the rough, then they should go bankrupt. Maybe just straight on that. And also make sure if you make diamonds, you know what you're going to do with them. That you can surf the wave. Just because you made a diamond doesn't mean you're going to make money. Okay, so you got to make sure that you're not paying irrational, exuberant prices for rough, and you have to make sure that you invest in marketing. Are you better off investing in the price of overpaying for rough, or are you better off investing in marketing? Now, I don't think everybody can do marketing on their own, and that's one of the reasons RapNet and Rappaport Group and we at Rappaport are taking on a more important role. And I guess you could say we're providing consolidated marketing. We help people market. I know that I just spoke to Ziggy yesterday, and one of my top traders there in New York, and he was saying how people were so appreciative during the Christmas season in the United States. Not just Christmas, they were able to sell using RapNet. So I'm not just trying to plug RapNet. I'm saying that marketing is important and that we see it as our role to do more marketing. Don't you think diamonds can be disrupted? The whole thing was done with De Beers and marketing. What if I market moon rocks as women actually? Okay, you can do that. I mean, you can, in fact, I don't think that, well, let me just say this. First of all, diamonds can be disruptive if we're unethical. That is the greatest danger to me about the diamond industry, is people are looking for ethical sources of supply. The diamond industry is shown to be an unethical industry because we allow Zimbabwean diamonds and other things. And it doesn't take a lot to turn you into an ethical person. And today, with the social media, I mean, I think we're running around like crazy people, allowing these Zimbabwean diamonds and these Congo diamonds into the things, but I'm going to work to break that out. The other thing is moon rocks. No, diamonds do speak to us. Diamonds are beautiful. They really are. I learned to cleave diamonds 45 years ago. I mean, they are amazing sculpture of the most expensive material on earth, probably. Really, think about price per carat for a D-flawless 10 carat. So, you're talking about, what is it, 200,000? You start, hacking and whacking away at this thing, sculpting it. So diamonds have tremendous beauty and tremendous, capability of being something fantastic. So I don't think diamonds are like moon rocks. Although you could probably make a market if you could get enough moon rocks to do it, I don't know. Talk to Musk. Maybe Elon Musk can bring you some moon rocks, and then you could make a moon rock business, and maybe people would buy it. Well, would it mean love? Would it mean? See, you got to understand, diamonds have positioned themselves to ride the wave of commitment, of love commitment between a husband and wife. Now, a husband, and wife, but that's what it's done. So they didn't create the desire for men to give things to women when they got married. And I'm not against men marrying men or women. I'm just using the men, women, because that's the typical thing. So think about that. They were giving pearls to each other, maybe in Japan, or jade to each other. in China, or cows to each other in Botswana. So there's always this gifting concept that was associated with the relationship between men and women. Now, all that the Bears geniusly did is they rode that wave. They surfed that wave. That's what they did. They didn't create the wave. They surfed the wave. So once you get diamonds positioned as that product that everybody knows, bingo, you're there. Now, to lose it, yeah, if you're going to be unethical, you lose it. So should be offering both synthetic as well as natural diamonds. I can't tell people what to do. I can't tell ALC what to do. I can't tell dealers what to do. But and this is where RapNet took a decision not to support the synthetic diamond business at all. And it was because we do not want to create an enabling environment for fraud. That's a pretty strong statement. Are synthetic diamonds fraudulent? Not always. Maybe a manufacturer says, I don't know, I sold them the diamond and I told them it was synthetic. But the retailer in the end sells it to the consumer. So, do you want to be a party to doing that? Do you want to encourage that? And that's why I asked I can't tell Joe what to do, but they took a position. They said, we're going to just treat these things as well. They were gemological organizations just giving you gemological factors. It's not their fault if other people use that gemological information in ways that don't disclose the value consideration of differentiation between these synthetics. Okay. The diamond industry, I think India recently has taken a decision to allow these things. They have to. People have to make product, but we don't have to at Rappaport, and we do not want to legitimize the prices for things that are going to fall. And so it's really up to your personal ethics. And do you want? Let's say, for example, you have an apartment house, and you're renting rooms to drug dealers. It's not your business. You're just renting the place. Do you have an obligation to know what they're doing? It's an issue, and we take a higher road, a higher road, not necessarily the only road. And I'm not going to think about what other people's values are. I'm worried. Let me make sure I do my values, and then I just go my own way. I just do my own thing, or we just do our own thing at Rappaport. Okay. Any more questions? So we answered everybody's questions, Joshua. We did it in 2 hours.
Yeah, everything, yes.
So I respect everybody. I thank everybody. I really appreciate your time. And I ask you to help us recommend Rappaport to friends, and we really want to do the right thing in the industry. And we believe that sharing the kind of information we've shared today. And if you think that this was a good webinar, let me know. I appreciate hearing from people, and then I can show it to my wife and I can explain why I'm spending so much time doing this. I wish you all well. Stay safe. Corona's not over. Yes, go ahead. Yes, please.
No, thank you very much. I'm saying thank you very much to you.
Oh, you're saying thank you. Okay, very good. So everybody, all the best. Over and out.